time they'll be more receptive,
Yeah.
or maybe in 6 months' time they wouldn't have had a release of emotion in their body from the whole process. So it's totally varied, and it's all okay. And that's the thing that I love about Wayapa as well, is that it's non-judgmental. It's just sort of like there's these things that are available to you, and if you choose not to be a more Wayapa person in terms of how you live your life, and you still make choices that might be based on convenience or other drivers. And I've just wrapped up this 6-week immersion with community house people, and they were sort of talking about how economics. There was an older lady there, and she was talking about my friend went into a supermarket and was trying to buy some sultanas, and they couldn't get an Australian made sultana.
Wow.
And there was a box of like mixed. This is Australian, and there might have been 100 sultanas in the box, and one of them was from Australia, and just to sort of maintain that legitimacy. And I said, well, it's the chicken and the egg with the consumer. And what happens in the world. So it's like, are we prepared to go without sultanas for a little while to retrain the market that, as consumers, we want to buy Australian-made products. So it's an interesting thing. And because there's no judgment attached to it, and it's just gently and sort of, warmly encouraging people to be more intentional around what they do. And I sort of said, a lot of people just, they don't stray from their lane. It's about one foot in front of the other and just getting through life. I feel like I'm not giving you a chance to speak.
No, this is your interview. I want you to speak. I think you're dead right. I think one of the things that we've found in our journey is that it can be as disciplined as you want it to be, or it can be just as mindful as you want it to be, as in you do what you can do with what you've got. And I think it is that conversation around the best of a bad situation. What have I got in front of me? Do I want it or do I need it? And I think that I've never done any of the other modalities. I've never done yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, but I've got a good sense of conversations with people. But I think the richness of Wayapa brings into those narratives, and it brings into those discussions. But it deals with consumerism and materialism, which I don't think the other modalities do as much in a modern way.
I don't think so, from what I've seen.
Yeah, so I think that's why a lot of people have been really excited about connecting to it. So,
and there was a woman yesterday, because I used your Wayapa visualization, which I sort of,
it was one of those,
it was one of those sort of latent treasures that were just lying there. And when I checked it out, I thought, this is amazing. And the woman said after that, that is so good. And she's done like mindfulness and meditation for years and years and years. And she said, I've never had something that was so embedded in the country that I live in. And she said it was just so powerful from that point only, but other points as well. But she said, it's just sort of unique in that way, like, to have something as an Australian. And that's, I feel like, even though, we're about ancient earth mindfulness, but still Wayapa is a really powerful decolonising tool.
Oh, I think so. That appreciative aspect of really sitting and thinking and listening to the original people's knowledge, and we haven't just been here for 240 years. That there was an occupancy that spans over 100,000+ years, and I think that that's where Australia. I was listening to an ABC article, interview this morning on that whole conversation, which they're obviously talking about the world's issues around race, and getting people to acknowledge First Nations people and connection. There's still a lot to be done. I'm a member of a couple of shooting and hunting groups on social media, and just some of I think there's a level of ignorance, there's a level of not knowing, and I think for me, ignorance comes from having been presented the facts but you ignore them, so you just become ignorant to the fact that they're real.
And you become a racist then.
Yeah, that's right. You're choosing to initiate a race. So.
Whereas Wayapa is so beautiful because it allows people who don't really know what to do to be a more sophisticated, more aware, articulate Australian. What can I do to, appreciate the fact that I live on a continent which still has the world's oldest, one of the oldest continuing living. Yeah, it's amazing. I was watching this, that Morgan Freeman documentary, and there's a woman from Egypt, and I was saying, this is 5,000 years old. It's like 5,000, and it's like, we have such riches here that are very, very minimally appreciated by mainstream, by the whole of society, which is like, we actually diminish ourselves, and you only have to travel overseas, and then you start to realise, wow, there is such amazing uniqueness here, and such strength, and the fact that it's still around, and that there's people like yourself that want to work with new and existing technologies and ancient knowledges, and knowing that we all come from our ancestors that live this way,
Yes.
and that's what's going to move us forward as a species.
Yeah, I think it's that going back stuff. It's been around for ages, but there was not that you have to subscribe to this theory, but there was a T-shirt where there was a monkey, and then the monkey walked on 2 feet, and then he evolved to being straight, and then become a human, and the human says, "No, we've stuffed it up. We've got to go back." So it's about understanding that we're not getting it right, and we do need to revert back to some of those older ways. And there were some conversations this morning about having a World Economic Forum here in Melbourne, and actually how big business can actually put the economy on a level par with the environment, because that's what's going to keep the economy going. You can't disconnect from it, and I think that conversations like that, I think anything COVID's done is to brought it to light, to go, well, we've got to really look at how we can do this a lot more effectively, efficiently.
Yeah, so we've been having conversations over the last few weeks about, or even longer than a few weeks, but since COVID's happened, because we was doing some work with the Extinction Rebellion, and having stayed in touch with them, and sort of saying, oh well, COVID's actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you in terms of having people stop and reconsider about how they are in the world. And there's this whole idea that we want to progress to where we think about how we bounce forward. So there's a lot of the economic stimulation stuff, and it's like, oh, we need to get back to normal, and it's like, well, no, there's parts of normal that weren't serving us and everything that we share the planet with. So it's like, how do we bounce forward? So we were talking about doing little 30-second clips of this is the future I want to bounce forward to. These are the things from last year or 10 years ago that I want to bring forward. But I actually want to be in a new way in the world. So COVID's while it's had a lot of loss of life, and I just feel about I just think about the big piles of plastic gloves that must be on the planet
Face
now.
masks.
Yeah, all those things.
Washed up on the beaches.
Yeah, strangling the turtles, and just all that sort of stuff. But still, it's maybe it was the wake up call. I just really hope that we haven't sort of lost the opportunity from that. And I know you were talking about having a pandemic, as a regular thing, that we actually sort of step back from things. But I was thinking maybe like 4-day weeks or 3-day weeks is a better thing, because I can't imagine that whole 2 months we don't do anything, because people, I think there was a lot of suicides and terrible things that happened from that, and
if
I like
it was
that
planned though, and people were supported, I think you're right. I think having it over, that's a great point, having it over the whole year rather than just shutting it down for 2 years. And I think one of the things that's come out of this is that people, there's a lot of people I've been speaking to, is that they're going to continue to work from home. And they're a lot healthier for that. Their productivity is a lot higher, and it leaves more space in that you don't have to centralise everything. That it's, I think one of the things that we've done as a human species is that we need to decentralise. We've brought everyone into one spot, and that's not healthy, and that's where viruses and illnesses manifest in that. You need to be out there letting nature take care of your stuff as well. Yeah,
and when you upscale to centralisation and big urban centres and stuff like that, that's when you really go for conformity, and that's when the system gets weakened. As well. You see in nature that it's the diversity within an ecosystem that gives it its strength. You need all that, the apex predators, you need the little worms, you need all the different parts of the system. They all play a part. Whereas with the whole sort of centralisation, and we have this whole sort of egotistical hierarchy things as well, with putting man at the top, and it's sort of like man is just so
you got knocked off the top there at one time. That's the one time.
Woman.
That's the one. I was about to say, that's the one time I'm happy to put the man at the top to fall off, because he's been the biggest problem in this whole thing. The woman's have been trying to wake him up, but he hasn't been listening. But one of the questions that Sarah wanted to ask was, what value have you gained from doing the diploma? Is there anyone?
It's enriched my life so much. So I've left. I was in the public servant. I was a public servant in the Commonwealth and the state government for about 25 years.
Wow, yeah.
So I've actually sort of broken free of that golden cheese. I was going to say golden cage.
Yeah.
Detonated the love bomb for myself and my family on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, wow.
So really quite scary. It can be scary to step out of your lane, but it's actually brought so much life satisfaction, and I feel like the abundance, like the monetary stuff will flow, like because all the signs are really promising so far. But I have such, gratitude for the vitality that I'm feeling. I'm going to get a Lomi massage by Teresa next week.
Nice.
And I just feel, my back just feels so ready to have that beautiful Hawaiian. I've had it before, it's just amazing. And, like, it's just nice to feel like physically you're in a good space, because often we can, if we sit behind a desk or even stand behind a desk and, we're commuting into work and our quality of life can be hard to maintain. So I've really freed myself up for this amazing life. And so Wayapa is a really important cornerstone of that whole plan that I have, to be a really good link in the chain of humanity. So, looking back to my ancestors, but also to the future generations. And I feel like, if there was a time machine that my great-great-grandchildren could, come back and visit me and say, oh, why aren't you doing something? We've actually, all the things that, all the